Good morning, my beautiful bookish loves. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a couple weeks again since I've been on here, but about a good 2 weeks ago, I got hit with whatever it is that's going around, and for about a good week and a half, I could not kick whatever it was. I would swear that I would be fine and I would do house shit. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and just I would wake up the next day wrecked. I couldn't kick it. It was bad. So I was down and out for a little bit there. However, in that time, when I could no longer be in bed because I was going to lose my mind from just laying there, I did get some reading done. But other than that, I now have a website up. I it's more to me, it's more personal than having just a link tree, which I still have, and all the links are where they, what links are. Um, but I didn't think I would enjoy creating this, putting myself on there like that. Because my mindset was I already have a link tree. Um, but no, I love it. I love seeing it. All of my things are there because I'm not just on BookTube, BookTok. Um, I want to say Bookstagram, but more of Bookstagram is just videos from BookTok. Well, there. I do have things that are exclusive just for Bookstagram. I have a blog. I have merch that I create myself. Simple designs, but designs that I love, stuff that I would wear. Hence why I designed them, um, and all that on one page, and you can get to know me better. And it is all basically bookish because um, my love of the me and that word, literary world, is something that encompasses a lot of me. It is a big part of my personality. I love it, and I don't think I'm ever going to change it. It was me as a kid, and I'm in my 40s, and I'm not changing that anytime soon. But that is enough of me plugging in. Let's talk about the books and what we're here for. Um, I want to talk about the books so far. I want to say I've read 26 books so far this year. Um, and I've enjoyed a lot of them. And I just want to talk about the books that have been hitting me so far, the ones that are still in my brain, even though I read them, let's say at the beginning of the year. Um, and I've got just two physical, and the rest I've got I'm looking down at my notepad because the rest were ebooks. So, and I will 100% forget what I came here for if I don't write it down. Um, so yeah, it's a mix of genres. I read a mix of genres, so that's what it is. And I want to just give you a little bit of everything. And I want to say, well, one of them is popular. Most everything here is I've either found on my own and came across my feed because someone else was like, "Hey, why isn't this more popular?" So we're gonna start it off with "The Night I Spent with Aubrey Fisher" by Christopher M. Tantillo. This was a 5-star read for me. Um, do check your triggers. When you read this book, the content warning is right at the beginning of the book on the author's note because it deals with depression, grooming, and suicide. The main character of the book has decided that in 24 hours he is going to end it. Some months prior, um, Grayson lost his little brother in a horrific way, and he blames himself. And he just doesn't want to. He just doesn't. He sees no point anymore. He sees everything that's going on around him. And there was things that happened. There was an event that something happened. He blames himself, and we just can't deal with the grief. And I know people are like, well, he's young because he's a teenager. This is a coming of age story, and you might think he's young and all that stuff, and he is, but this book tackles grief very well in writing about it and how it looks different for everyone. And just because you're young doesn't mean that he didn't know how to deal with it because of his age, because there were adults in this book who didn't know how to deal with their grief. And even though everyone's grieving the same event, the same moments, it looks different for everyone. Everyone is, you know, it looks different for everyone, and not everyone does it the same, and there's no right way to do it. Um, But in that moment where he's chosen, that he's done with everything, he meets Aubrey Fisher. And she is going to show him um, that life is worth living. But she herself has her own, she's got her own shit going on. So this was it was a heavy read, and I found myself, I couldn't put it down. Um it's not necessarily a read where you're gonna be like, I loved all the characters. No, because again, everyone's dealing with grief in a very different way. And so you may be put off by some characters. Um but this is not meant to be a book it's not meant to be pretty. As pretty as the cover is, it's not meant to be pretty. It is meant to be real. And it was very much so. Uh, the next book I have on here, I'm glad that I loved, because so far this year I have DNF'd 3 books. 2 of them were super hype. Super hype. Like, they're everywhere. Even if I don't want them on my feed, they're on my fucking feed. And so when I went in for this one, I'm like, if I don't want this one, again, if I'm, I say again, like I didn't say it the first time, Debbie. Oh my God. I I am not immune to being hyped. So, when other people are like, oh my God, I love this. Please, I want to love it with you. But sometimes when you go in so hype and then it just, and if this one didn't hit for me like it hit for everybody else, I think I would have cried. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book was crazy good. I went in pretty blind, even with all the reviews that I have read and all that. I went in pretty blind, and the only thing I knew was it was a modern retelling of Carrie. Now, I know Carrie. I'm not going to sit here and assume that you do. So, if you don't know, Carrie's written by Stephen King. There's also a movie. There are remakes. The remakes are alright. But, like, the OG Carrie, that's also a great movie. But I again, it's not an unpopular book, so I won't say too much about it. All I'm going to say is that 100% this book for me was absolutely worth the hype. Again, I would have cried like physical tears, because I would. I'm like, why this one? Why not this one? I don't want this one. Great. If you're on the fence about it, if you don't want to know, personally, do it. Go for it. Yes, right now. Well, don't pause me now. Just write it down. Jot it down somewhere. Now we're hitting up the notepad. I have a Spotify premium membership, and with that, they're now doing, like, you can do audiobooks. They give you like 15 hours of listening, which is bullshit, because if I'm paying the premium, why can't I have more than 15 hours? But that's neither here nor there. It's whatever. One of the first books I listened to was A Life with Ghosts by Steve Gonsalves. And if you know where he's from Ghost Hunters, and I'm an A1 day one fan. I love Ghost Hunters. I love when they came back. I love them all, and I've had a crush on Steve since day one. So this was a great. I want to give it 4 stars. This was a great listen. It's not him recanting Ghost Hunters episodes or anything like that. It is, it is his memoir. He talks just about his life in general, the other jobs he's had, and just how he got into doing this. And it's amazing to hear about how, like, he can make a living out of this now. It's amazing to be able to do what you love, whatever is your passion or your hobby, to be able to do that and keep a roof over your head because of it. And that is amazing to hear about. It is inspiring to hear about, actually. And again, I listened to this like while I was doing housework, cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, things like that. I enjoy his voice, which I think is I want to say that because I love audiobooks in terms of, like, if you want to love them and that's all you listen to, that's great. That's how you consume your books. But not all of them hit for me, because I can't have just anyone in my ear, please. But I found them to be soothing, and I love listening to this whole thing. And I mean, like, I listened to it like real quick. I couldn't stop. Any excuse I could have my headphones on, I did. So that was great. Next one on my list, The Good Girl by Michelle Dunn. This was a recent read. I'm still thinking about it. It caught me off guard. I signed up for an arc of it. Like I'm in like Bloodhound books. What is up, Debbie? Bloodhound books arc. Um, and I don't know much about it. I read the blurb and I was like, I'll read it. It looks good. It's a thriller. It's my those are my jams. Those are my jams. This book, first 5 stars if I didn't say. This book had me crying over a serial killer. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So we have Grace. And Grace basically manages a coffee shop. She doesn't own it, but it's basically like her boss leaves her to her own devices. She's great at it. It's less for him to do. He's like, this is fantastic. It's in a spot where he doesn't in a spot like in town where he doesn't even want to be at. So it's his little place. She runs it. She runs it well. Not a problem. And Grace's upbringing was not good at all. At all. When I tell you at all, I mean check your triggers for this, check the content warning. There is a lot of not good things happening in this book, especially at the beginning and throughout. Grace grew up with an abusive mom who did not feed her or her sister, didn't care for them at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Didn't feed them, didn't anything, and would beat them. And Grace would loved her sister, loved her little sister so much. She did everything for her. And as a child, she had taken to stealing to feed her, not even to feed herself, to feed her sister. And of course, people around the way, would see her coming and they would like chase her off and stuff. Never mind that you're not asking yourself, why is this child stealing food? That's what you should be asking yourself. But anyone who's around, who's from any small place, knows that sometimes all adults do is talk shit. They don't do anything. They talk shit. They judge, and they'll even judge children, which is wild. I've been around situations like that where I was like, "That's the kid. What? You're the adult. Like what?" And Grace, and I said this before when I reviewed it for like Book Talk. Her name is funny because life never gave her any. Her name was Grace, and life never gave her any grace whatsoever. And Grace had, for lack of a better term at the moment, had already snapped once. She got help. And she was able to live a life now. She has a job. She's not hungry anymore. She still takes care of her sister. She has a place in everything, right? The issues with that is Grace still lives in her own neighborhood, literally across the street in the house where she grew up in. Her sister still lives in that house. Sometimes when we're stuck within our trauma, it becomes hard to break away from it. And some people physically just can't. That's why people who are recovering from many things, they have to remove themselves from the situation. And sometimes, for whatever the case is, you just can't or don't or won't. And that isn't good for you. But Grace will never leave her sister behind. She still helps. She cleans. She cooks for her. All that. And then something happens. This book was a wild ride. It's told like in the past and the present. And the ending, fucking wild. I still think about this book. This book had not, if I hadn't gotten the email from it, it had not come across my feed. I don't know this author, none of that. I picked it up because the blurb looked interesting and it was a genre that I love, although I love all the genres. Holy shit. Holy shit. This book is a holy shit. Holy shit, 5 stars. Okay? But again, if you have triggers, again, you should check them if this may be too heavy for you. I'm someone who I check trigger warnings just so I know what's coming. I don't steer away from a book because it has something in me that could make me spiral. Why do I do these things? Well, I'm sure there's many reasons. But that's just what I use them for. Some people use them to be like, hey, this is not something I can read. That's why I always say check your trigger warnings, because I don't know what they are. There's so many, and I'm not going to diminish anyone's anything. I just want to make sure that, look, this has heavy content in it. Okay? Okay. The next one is, oh, this book took my heart. Bright Red Fruit by Safia El-Hillo. This book is told in verse. It is the second book that I've read that was like that. Fantastic, 5 stars. I think because it is written in verse, it just added to the story. Like it made the story better than what it was if it was just like a regular, regular written words. Regular written words. Like if it was a regular story. We have a Sudanese American girl. She's being raised in DC. She's a teenager. This is a coming of age story. And she's Sudanese American, first generation. So she is straddling 2 worlds. You have a mother, she, trying to raise her with her Sudanese ways. That's what she knows. And a mother who's also like here in a country where she doesn't understand the ways here. And she herself, she's homesick. She's away from home. She's away from everything she knows. Samira is being raised here. She's stuck between. There was an incident, a scandalous incident. Remember that whole situation where I just told you a couple minutes ago about adults talking shit about children? Yeah, same situation here. And she finds, she gets grounded. This scandalous thing happens. She gets grounded. And she finds solace in poetry. So she's online, writing her stuff, sharing her stuff. There's a little community. All that is great. All that is beautiful. She meets someone online, Horace. And Horace is quite charismatic. He's also older. Okay. Maybe some of you are like, I can see where this is going. Yes. And in the span of this DC summer, Samira goes through a lot and has to learn a lot about herself, a lot about her mother, a lot about who to trust, a lot about, who are really your friends, and just a lot about who she is in general. Beautiful story, sad though, heartbreaking, but just, and the cover, yeah. I read this in a couple hours. Like I could not put it down. And because it was told in verse and because it wasn't like chunks of chapters, then yes, it did make it, I guess, easier to read because it wasn't as long. But it didn't diminish from the story. It wasn't less of a story. It wasn't less than anything. This was beautiful and full and filling and just absolutely fantastic. Okay. The next one is way on the other side of all the things. It's not in verse and it's not a thriller. It is a thriller. That's wrong. But it's not. It's dark romance. Curse of the Morning Ring by M.A. Cobb. It is a very spicy dark romance. And I very much loved it. If you like ghost fucking, well, that's in here. You're like, damn, that you just hit us with it. Look, man, we're all grown here. This is not a child's channel. So I don't tell you. Yes, we have Alice, and she is an author, and there was some damage to her home. There's like a storm, and there's some damage to her home. She got a dog. Her dog runs out the day after the storm. And the dog is digging around somewhere like where the tree fell and shit. And she finds a ring. Like, oh my God, where the fuck did this come from? Now, I've got to say, like, Alice has a big old home, and she's a reclusive author. So, she's away from things. She's not in the middle of a city or anything like that. So she's like, where did this come from? It looked very old. It looked like it fell there a very long time ago and the tree just grew. But now that the tree's been toppled over, she has it. In her picking up this ring, she awakens someone who has been gone for a very long time. So now he is awake. He doesn't know what's going on. And he is very much, it seems like he's tethered to her. He can feel her. He can feel her. She can feel him. He can see her. She cannot see him. Those parts are wild. She doesn't fully believe that she thinks she's losing her mind. She thinks there's something wrong. And she calls up a doctor. She's like, something's, I don't know. I'm hearing things. She's still talking to him. She's interacting with him. She's doing all those things, but she thinks she's losing her shit. So she goes, and goes gets tests, because that's what you do when you think you're losing your mind. That's the best thing to do. If you can afford to do so, do so. But the spicy parts were those were delicious. But there was, what I wasn't expecting in this were the twists. I wasn't. I thought it was going to be very straightforward in it. And there is a happily ever after, but yeah, this book was wild. This book was wild in the best way. And I'm very glad that it was recommended to me. I'm very glad. It's the best. I love when I get recommendations like this, because the only person that I know who's recommended it was the people who did. And it was a sloppy book club. I'll tag them. They were talking about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting as fuck. And other than me talking about it, I have not heard anyone else talk about it. That was wild. Why not? Like, if these are your kind of reads, then you should be talking about this. Why aren't you? But that's fine. That's what I'm here for. The next one. I had physical copies of this next one. They're mangas. But they were library borrows. And I read this, a month ago, maybe? 2 months ago? I don't remember. Time is a row for me. But I've already returned them, so. March Story by Kim Hyung Min. Very much love this manga. Oh my god. This was great. This was just, I was in the mood for it, and I found that I didn't really want to read them on my e-reader. Like, I can borrow them from the library that way, but the ones I were reading, I kind of, they weren't hitting for me on there. So I just went to my library. The adult ones are like it's not a big selection, but this one I've never heard of. Came across it. Loved it. It's a 5-volume series. Unfortunately, they only have 4, and I want the last one. But let me talk. What is it? So we have March, and March is an ill hunter. So in this world, there are demons called the ill. They are created, and they are formed within pieces of art. So basically, when you create art, a lot of emotion goes into it, be it happiness, love, or hate, or anger. This is for the people who be like, oh, you could just separate the art from the artist. Okay. Okay. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Pookie. So all of those emotions go into the piece. Okay. And within that, sometimes an ill is created. And they wait until someone can hear them. And then when you touch said artsy thing, bow, you have now absorbed the ill, and the ill do bad things. And March is part of a group of hunters who hunt the ill. This was a great story, great storyline, a great twist. The art was top notch. I got it, like I said, I got it from the adult section of the library, so there was explicit content. So there's like a couple of boobies and shit. But nothing bananas. It is violent. I would think that the explicit content was less because you see like 1 or 2 sets of titties. It's more because of the violence. It is quite gore. I don't know why I didn't think of it now, but like if there isn't an anime for this, I would love to see this. And like on screen. Oh, quite bloody. So yes. 5 stars for that. The next one, Wash Day Diaries. Not my phone ringing in the middle of me doing this. I'm still new to learning how to piece together videos. So God knows what this will look like. So let's just get to the last book before it happens again. Last but not least, Wash Day Diaries. Absolutely love this. It was a graphic novel. It was another library borrow. But I feel like if I find it, if I can find it maybe on sale or something like that, again, I keep saying and again as if though maybe you're new here, you don't know anything about this. I thrift a lot of my books and I buy a lot of my books on sale because babies were on a budget. I cannot just buy whatever I want whenever I want. It doesn't work that way. I said I was a stay-at-home mom at the beginning of this video. Um, so I something that I would want in my collection. Um, we have Four Girls for Women from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx, and I've been reading several books of set in the Bronx or characters from the Bronx, and I grew up where books that those books didn't exist, with characters that look like me, that talk like me, and so in these past 2 years, I've got several books that like they're hitting with that, and it hits me. It's healing something inside of me, and it's called Wash Day Diaries. And growing up, I hated wash days. Back when I had a lot more hair, when my hair wasn't thinning, um, I hated it. It was hours. It was hours of detangling hair. It was hours of either blow drying or hot combs or relaxers. It was an all day event. In my house, wash days are still a thing because my two youngest have a lot of hair, with my youngest hair being very coily. And so wash day is still a thing. And so this book healed a little something in me. Again, I veered off. We got four women in the Bronx, and just it's a life story. Everything they're going through, each one is going through something different. And sometimes you don't know what your friends are going through. Even when you're best friends, sometimes you don't know what they're going through. And what they're dealing with. Some people, keep it close to the chest because of generational things, because you're told like, oh, you could just deal with it this way, or we don't talk about that. We don't do things this way, that way. It was a lot, and it was a quick read. The artwork was beautiful, the stories were beautiful, um, and I absolutely um loved it. I now that I'm talking about, like, I kind of wish I did have a copy so I could just show you, like, just skim through it and show you guys. Um, okay, yeah. You know what? No, no, because I can see Kai right here, right here. I can see Kai. Look, this book doesn't come out till October, but you see the shelf here. This whole shelf up here is an AJ Vrana shelf. I've talked about it before. If you want to go to back videos, she was one of my all-time favorite authors. The Chaos Cycle duology is one of my all-time favorite duologies ever of all time that I've ever read in my whole life. Which is saying a lot because I've read a lot of fucking books in my life. There's a new standalone novel, like a companion novel to this world. It's called Wild Blood, and it's Kai's. It is based on Kai, but it has the point of view of not just Kai, but his girl Maya. I will make a better video on this later on, but I'm on her street team. I've already read this book twice. Being on her street team, I got an early arc. I've already read this book twice, and it was phenomenal both times. Like the first time I ate it up, and then the second time I'm like, read it again and slow down. 5 stars. If 10 stars was a thing, I'd give it 10. This like, it's Slavic folklore, Irish folklore. We've got men in therapy. Yeah, men in therapy. Found family, and found family will always have a place for me. If all you got to tell me is this book is based around that, 100% yes. It is about healing trauma and overcoming things, and not just because of love and for love, but for the love of someone else, but loving yourself, understanding that you deserve better, and to do better for you and for everyone around you that you give a shit about. Beautifully told. The ending, 5 stars. But again, there's the cover reel isn't yet. That won't be on until next week. But now that I'm sitting here and I've got them behind me, I want to talk about it real quick. Just to put on your radar, because it is a standalone novel. You can read it without having read the original. But if character growth is your jam, like it is mine, I would say read The Hollow Gods and The Echoed Realm, so you can see how Kai was from book 1 to this one. But if you're like, I don't want to do all that, I just want to read this one, that's your prerogative. Go ahead. Just read Wild Blood. It's still one ride. Um, but yeah, again, it doesn't come out till October, and arcs for everyone else are not exactly out yet. But why not put it on your radar? Why not put it on your radar? And that is it for me. I have probably talked a lot. Well, yeah, because what else am I gonna do? I hope you guys have a like I have a kitchen door that clicked open. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Like, subscribe, please. I'm not telling you to do it. Please, can you do it? And all that. This is the ending. Is always the awkward part. I'm out.